Hi, I'm Dave Wurzel, and you're watching PHTV4 Spotlight. Today's Spotlight is on education. Specifically, we've got a special guest from Stagg High School, Eric Olsen. Eric, thank you for being here this morning.
Thanks for having me, Dave.
No, this is good. I look forward to these visits. And I know you're going to give us some good information about what's happening at Stagg High School and some updates on education, specifically to the community. So thanks for being here. Just as a quick recap, as a reminder, you've been a principal at Stagg for how long now?
Just finished my 18th year.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much.
And you've been in education since 96, I think you said?
Correct.
Yeah.
1996, yeah.
All right.
So somewhere close to 30 years.
All right, you're getting there. You're
Yeah.
getting there. And when I say get there, I mean the retirement years probably aren't too far away then.
Not too far. I still got a few to go.
Few. All right, well, enjoy them. Enjoy them when you got them. All right, before we talk specifically about what's happening at Stagg or District 230, are there certain trends in education, national or local or Illinois, that you can kind of speak to that we're seeing in school, or you're seeing in the community?
Yeah. Well, Dave, I think a couple of the more significant ones that really apply to District 230 and Stagg High School, I'd say the first is ISB, the Illinois School Board of Education, has now changed its testing plan from the SAT now back to the ACT. And so that's a pretty significant shift for us.
That's huge, actually. Yeah, I think about the amount of anxiety that tests can cause students, teachers helping their students prepare, parents, college, application, scholarship money endlessly.
Right.
How big of it, I mean, has that been addressed in curricular things already then? I mean, how much of an impact will that be?
Yeah, so, we always take a look at our curriculum to make sure that it is supporting, what is covered on whatever standardized test we're using. I think the changes that I think are really important for us is one of the problems that you run into when the state changes is now all of our trend data that we have been tracking, really tracking student achievement and the improvements that you use as the basis for your school improvement plans. Now it gets a little bit muddier because you've shifted your metric.
Yeah, the baseline is different, unless you go back to several years ago, which may not even be applicable anymore.
Necessarily accurate. And I think it's important for our community to know that SAT and ACT are used by all colleges and universities, so it doesn't matter which one that you use. There's really not any universities anymore that say we're only ACT or we're only SAT. They accept both. And then the other importance is actually the difference in the test itself. So ACT, the overall battery of the test is longer, but it is chopped into more sections. So the actual individual tests are shorter, but it covers, for the most part, the same content as the SAT, except the SAT dives a little bit deeper into thought processes and really more along the line of checking how students process information comparatively.
And as you're saying that, I'm thinking about the testing process right now. I think in District 230, it's like is it a 3-day thing or 2 or 3 days, right? Where you have some students, freshmen, sophomores, on opposite days, juniors over 2 days. Is it going to impact the actual testing mechanics?
So probably to some degree it will. We're not exactly
still working the details.
It's hard to predict because we've just gotten this information basically.
Okay.
The state awarded the bid to ACT. Then it was challenged by SAT, and so it was really just a month ago that it was formally, finalized that we're ACT.
This is this is a significant change for sure. But going back to my feeling, and I was there when we were at Sandberg when we were doing the ACT. I know we always felt like our curriculum was pretty strong.
Yeah.
ACT, SAT, we're prepping our students for the next step in higher learning, whatever it is.
Right.
So I would imagine you're well situated to meet this new challenge.
Oh, without a doubt that we are. But we think it's important. The first most important thing is the communication to our community about the shift. because lots of parents invest, their time, their energy, their money into additional preparation. So we want to make sure that they're prepping for the right test. Any student can still take the SAT on their own.
Right.
That's not a problem.
And they may need to or want to for
Right.
some reason.
Right.
What about, so maybe we're kind of talking about a little bit already, are there any new curriculum changes or initiatives going on? I feel like that's always being tweaked at least a
Right.
little bit, right?
No, we actually have a number of new courses that have been added in the realm of advanced placement. We've added comparative government, and then also...
The title sounds interesting, like a class, I'm imagining analyzing different government styles, potentially from around the world, like real active government.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then also added to the books as well what is African American Studies as well. We're going to be running the comparative government at Stagg because it's always based on enrollment.
The kids who sign up for it. Yeah.
Right. And then in addition, we continue to expand our courses that offer professional certifications. So we've got...
Which I believe, one is Adobe Premiere in the media class, right?
Yeah. And then we've added personal trainer.
Oh, nice.
And then the personal trainer and one other course. Let me look at my notes again. Oh, sports officiating as well.
I know that in the IHSA we hear there's a big need for officials right now.
Yeah.
Across the board, I think, in all athletic areas.
Yeah. Huge push for high school students to get those certifications in officiating, right? Starting out, their experience at the lower levels,
Right.
But really there's such a shortage of officials and referees that IHSA certainly supports these sorts of efforts, and it's a great opportunity for our students to make extra money as well.
Yeah.
Take a class and get a certification.
Sounds like a great, wonderful that the high school can offer this. What a great way to get kids that much closer to the type of professional training they'll need once they leave high school.
Right.
Whether it's a part-time job while they go to college, or maybe it is part of their profession in the future.
Yeah, I mean, we've offered, we've got 32 industry certification programs within District 230. And so adding these two to that list is significant. And there's ones that Stagg has always had a high level of student participation, our lifeguarding program. If you go to any of the community pools here, right, you're going to see D230 or Stagg students as lifeguards, which is a wonderful opportunity for those students, right, to earn money during the summers and during breaks, and just generally lifeguarding skills is something you can use for your whole life.
Right. Especially those types of skills you're talking about, not just swimming, but CPR and the life-saving and first aid that goes with it. A lot of great skills there. It sounds wonderful that District 230 Stagg is able to offer all these programs. Before I want to turn to your personal goals or your goals specifically as principal, but are there any other things going on curriculum-wise that we need to take a look at?
No, not curriculum-wise, but one other thing that I'd like to add for our community is there's another significant shift in the state of Illinois, and that was a House bill that was passed about a year ago called MENA, which is the Middle Eastern North African identification within statistics in the state of Illinois. So previously, any individual within our community that would be designated as that under race would actually be kind of forced to put down white within that. And so
it seems very potentially inaccurate in terms of collecting information.
Correct. And so really it's doing a better counting of or giving a count to people, right? And really kind of validating their presence and engagement within our community. So it's something that's really important. District 230 is starting a year early with its implementation, kind of in anticipation of that transition. But this year, when our parents register during the summer, they're going to be given that opportunity to indicate or mark down their racial identification, and they're going to see that for the first time. So it's very, very important to our community to make sure that you're counted, and that we represent all of the students and all of the families within our community.
Whatever services are needed or reflected in the curriculum or programming or...
Correct.
Yeah. No, I get it. It sounds like a very important thing to be able to recognize. You know, as you, I do want to mention, and I know I've only got curriculars on here. I did see, because I get that email, I know flag football, which maybe seems like a binary thing, but I know Stagg has a very good girls flag football team, and it's going to be IHSA state level competition next year.
Yeah,
for playoffs.
Yeah, IHSA has approved girls flag football for next year, and we're really excited about it. For the last 2 years, we've had a girls flag football team, and that was very successful. We made it to the Bears state championship last year. Our coach was recognized by the Bears for her engagement in the flag football community.
Met her and interviewed her. She was, you know, driven and passionate. It was exciting. It's wonderful to see her have that kind of success, and now to take that competition to an IHSA sanctioned championship. I hope that's in their future.
And every time I work with her, she ages me because she was a student of mine and very engaged and was great as a student, and now seeing what she's doing.
Isn't that wonderful to see?
It's great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's absolutely great.
Do you want to shift to your goals? Can we talk about
Sure.
You know, I'm sure you go into each school year thinking about what are things that we need to do or things that we need to work on or things maybe that you want to work on yourself. Can you speak to that a little bit?
So I think, you know, one of the big things, you know, at Stagg are the additions that are currently being built. So a lot, you know, our first phase of our addition will be moved into for the start of the school year. And
it's exciting.
Yeah.
I remember seeing the construction last year, and you could see the framework beginning to fall into place, but it'll be ready in the fall.
It'll be the first edition will be ready in the fall,
okay.
And then the second edition should be done before the start of second semester. So we'll be moving classes in to the second edition.
And how does that impact? I guess two questions for you. How does that impact the enrollment? I'm assuming you can accommodate more students now, but what about the physical layout of the structure, like where kids are taking classes or how classes are organized?
Yeah.
I know you mentioned this a little bit earlier about grouping departmentally, I think. Can you?
So now that we have this additional space, you know, when you are confined, right? We would put a class wherever there was an open class, right? So math classes could occur anywhere within the building. Social studies classes could be anywhere, which creates a real difficult situation not only for our staff to have to be moving constantly from room to room, but also for our students, right? And their kind of sense of self within the building and where things are located. So now with this additional space, we now have reorganized the building into departments. And so a lot of our work this summer and into next year will be that movement. So now that students will have a defined area where social studies is, where math is, where English is, and I think there's multiple benefits to that.
I was going to say, it probably seems like a little thing. Maybe, I'm not sure how the public reacts to it, but if you're a kid navigating a school or a teacher or administrator, you know where you can find these people. I need to go talk to the department chair, or I want to talk to a teacher I had last year because you had a question about whatever.
Right.
Or another teacher that maybe next year I'm interested in that class. You know that they're near each other now.
Yeah. And now, you know, that really the staff in the department, they can own that space, right? And there's that ability to personalize it to the curriculum that they're teaching, which really kind of enhances the experience of the student to walk down into the new social studies wing, right? And be surrounded by information about social studies or psychology or
right. That to create that environment, that atmosphere. I'm thinking for teachers too, it's the same thing. It's one more opportunity to talk to your coworkers.
Right.
A lot of professional development actually takes place in those little minutes where you can kind of grab each other in the hallway between periods or something.
Exactly.
Good. What else?
Really kind of diving back into the curriculum component is really kind of the re-engagement into getting those courses up and running and supported the way that they need to. And then really our work with college and career planning. So last year, 100% of our students have selected a career pathway. And now each year we have staggered in, new activities that allow students now to take a look at their college or career goals and then tailor their course selection directly with that. There's always flexibility within it, but it allows students to have a greater focus. The majority of the students at Stagg High School, when choosing a career field, are choosing the field of medicine in a variety of different ways, whether it's doctors or students who want to become researchers or even a phlebotomist or something along those lines. So now they can tailor their courses to support their goals there. So we're going to be doing a lot of work within that. So that's one of the goals of next year, is really taking a look at that sophomore and junior experience now that we have those pathways.
Yeah, it sounds exciting. I'm thinking, as a student, I know that that's something I would really appreciate, I would think. Yeah.
And then finally, I think we continue to work as schools, across the United States, but here in Illinois, on student attendance. Post-COVID, we are rebounding. We're in a lot better shape than a lot of other schools and school districts around us, but we are still rebounding. We had significant improvement this year with about an 8% improvement in a reduction of students who are identified as chronically truant or chronically absent. And we've got about 10% more to get back to where our pre-COVID levels were, which is about between 90 and 92%.
So it's conceivable this next year, either within this year or certainly by the second year, like you could be back to your pre-COVID or better.
Yeah, no, we expect to be. We've seen that steady improvement since coming out of COVID, but student attendance will definitely be a focus.
Yeah. It is interesting to think about, here it's 2024, 25 school year, and that still is something that, we're recovering from.
Yeah. I think there's been a lot of rebounds in all the different areas affected by the pandemic, where we've seen kind of significant improvements. But what's unique, as you know, with working in a school is now we're working with students who were affected by this when they were in junior high, And so the effect on them is different than what our high school students were experiencing. And so you have to shift and adjust to the needs that had occurred back then for them. And as always, students are very, very resilient, and we're seeing those improvements, and definitely, I believe, coming out of that tunnel of the pandemic.
They need the guidance and the structure to help that take place. I would agree with it. They tend to bounce back, not all the time, but in a lot of cases faster than the adults do. But they need the guidance to get there. Right. When I'm listening to all the things you're talking about, the construction, the ACT, SAT, some of the curriculum things, the certificate, it's a lot going on. You're starting to raise my stress level. I'm like, this is summer, which is actually, I'm going to take you to the next question unless you got something else. I'm hoping that you find time to recharge or reset a little bit, because it sounds like there is a lot going on right now, a lot of wonderful things going on, wonderful things for the students and the staff and the community. But how about you? Do you find a way to recharge or reset in the summer?
You know what? I think when you get everyone out of the building for a little while, and it's just a little while, because even in the summer,
quieter.
Yeah, it's a little quieter, but there's always something going on, right? Whether if it's your regular athletic camps, whether it's the Max Strus basketball camp coming up in a couple weeks, all of that. There's always still that energy there. And there is so much to do, but it's such good work, right? Is that it's not a case where you feel like you necessarily have to recharge, because you're just continuously charged up to the next challenge. But For me personally, I had an opportunity. My youngest son graduated from high school.
Congratulations.
So next year, my wife and I will be empty nesters. He and I, for his graduation present, went fly fishing for on a little trip, which is nice.
Where'd you go?
We actually went to the Smokies.
Oh, nice.
Yeah,
nice.
So we were just outside Bryson City and up in the Smokies fly fishing. He is an avid fly fisherman. It was my first time, so I would say he was teaching me, and there's probably more stress in me fly fishing than being a principal of a large high school.
I have the picture of you, the grace of like the river runs through it.
Right.
That
I was not that pretty. It wasn't that pretty.
Next time. You'll be there next time.
Yeah, next time.
That sounds like a great time, though. What about, okay, so that's a beautiful moment. I love it. How about inspiration? Like, where do you draw? Do you find like every now and then you either hear a speaker, read a book, or there's somebody out there that, you draw inspiration from?
And I think I've said this before. I look to what's closest to me for for inspiration, right? And aside from family and that, I really look at the Stagg community, the resilience of our community. The challenges that they face and we face. But not just locally, but also internationally. The challenges that have been there and the resilience of our community, is to me inspiring. Right? Is moving past and succeeding and excelling in spite of the challenges that we're faced. And it's such an empathetic community. There is so much support for one another, no matter where you're coming from. If you're coming from Palos Heights or Palos Park or Palos Hills or Bridgeview or whatever, the Stagg community always comes together to support one another, and I find that kind of really remarkably inspiring as well.
I for sure could see how that kind of thing could have make you feel good about what you're doing and make you want to work that much harder because you can see what other people are bringing to it, right? You're working with good people and a good cause kind of thing, right?
And then, as far as always constantly trying to develop myself, I'm actually rereading Lincoln on Leadership, and trying to pull that inspiration kind of from the past and how I think it's really notable with President Lincoln is he filled a cabinet full of people that had differing opinions the rivals and really took all of those different ideas to mold together and shape how he would move forward as a president, and I think that's more important now, that recognizing in with so many different people with different ideas and different passions, right, is creating that space to listen and to kind of draw from the pieces and put together in something that people can agree to. It's the best step to move forward.
Yeah, a very difficult skill set to manage, I would think. But I think you're exactly right in how critical it is in terms of being able to move forward or build something or create something or be successful. And what a great model when you think about Lincoln and what he went through. I understand that. You're making me think I need to revisit some of the biographies on him. Yeah, he's good. Thank you very much, Eric.
Dave, thank you as always.
No, this is wonderful, great conversation. I got to tell you, from all the interviews I've done at Stagg with your staff and your students, kids have been wonderful.
Yeah.
There are a lot of great things going on. I know I walk out of there, kind of like you were saying, I walk out of there a little bit recharged or energized by it, because a lot of great things going on, a lot of great people working there. Well,
thank you very much, and you're always welcome.
Thank you. Thank you, Eric. All right, enjoy the rest of your summer. Good luck with those other issues on your plate. All right, take care.
Thank you.
I'm Dave Worsley. You've been watching PHTV4 Spotlight. Today's Spotlight has been on education. Specifically, we've been talking with Eric Olsen, principal at Stagg High School. Thank you for watching.